Welcome back to PH.d TV, and today we'll be going over Cremo's Bourbon and Oak Cologne. Alright, so I don't know if you're aware of this. This video is sponsored. I announced it right here, in which I will put it up here. But that is not to say that I am not going to give my honest opinion on these fragrances. When I reached out to Cremo, they knew I was going to give my honest feedback. So to say if I don't like something, I will let you know. But that's also to say if I equally love something, I'll be sure to definitely let you know. But with that being said, we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to Cremo's Bourbon and Oak. Now, if you've seen my spice and black vanilla review that I did for Cremo, I did a very heavy review on the box and everything about it. So with that being said, I will just be detailing the things that make this box very specific to the bourbon and oak smell. And just as the spice and black vanilla had, they do have the notes on the side. And as you see right here, they are distiller's spice, bourbon and white oak as the top, middle, and base notes. And on the front, it does say it is a smooth, lively scent with notes of distiller's spice, bourbon, and white oak, basically just what the notes say. And as before, even though it does say it's a cologne, it actually is an eau de toilette. And as you already know, this is bourbon and oak, but as we discussed, that is about the only differences in terms of the box. And very similarly with the packaging, it does come with the protector layering, which really makes a really good package. Still took a hot minute to get the fragrance out of the box. Hey, but that's okay. I like my fragrances being protected till I get them myself. And here she is, bourbon and oak. So Cremo has a very uniform way they have their fragrances. Basically, the bottles are copy and paste and repeat, which is perfectly fine. I love the uniformity. The only differences are that these labels are different, typically with a different color of text. But aside from that, they still have the raised Cremo font, a cap that you can hold on to pretty snugly, as well as a pretty darn impressive atomizer. And this one's gonna be a real fun for me to review because I'm a big fan of bourbon specifically. I don't discriminate, but bourbon's my thing. So with that being said, I'm gonna be able to pick out a few more notes than I probably would in most other fragrances out of this one. Yeah, they definitely got a distiller's spice thing going on, something that's very specific to where if you've ever gone through a distillery and seen an oak barrel in the spice that they put in it, yeah, they definitely got something like that going on. And as I sit here, it does start going into a bourbon, a very synthetic bourbon, but of course you're not gonna put actual bourbon in a fragrance, so good job on them for mimicking that very well. And if this is anything like any other Cremo fragrance, it's gonna be a hot minute before it gets to the base note. Because with these Cremo fragrances, from what I understand, and from my experience, that top note sits for about 5 minutes, maybe 10 depending on your skin type, but it always goes right to the middle and stays in the middle, projecting for hours on end before it really gets down to those base notes to where it starts to become a debatable aromatic skin scent. Oh yeah, that's good. It's very sweet, similarly to how bourbon is to a degree. And I will be putting the notes up for Fragrantica maybe right here, just so you know what's to be referred to in terms of the fragrance. And I'll be putting up other things like the likabilities and just what seasons you can wear them in. And you know, and even if you look on Fragrantica, you'll see that with their perfume pyramid, which is basically where you have user people, you know, put up the notes that they get, as well as the people themselves, Cremo, who say this is the notes you're supposed to get. The box where it says this is the top, middle, and base, literally they focus on those 3 ingredients, and literally that was the only thing listed on the website. So it is nice to know that when you buy a box, that whenever you read the side of it, that is what you're going to smell. They're not hiding anything from you, which I think is a very honest and valuable trait in a company. And you know what, and if I'm being completely honest, I don't know if any of y'all have ever smelled this, because this makes me think of this, and I always try to give a reference to another fragrance in my reviews. So just in case, if you don't know what this smells like, but you've smelled this, you'll have an idea. If you've ever gone to Bath and Body Works and you've smelled their bourbon fragrance, and I will put a picture of it around right here, just so if you just need an image of it, you'll have it. This smells almost identical to it, in my opinion, and evidently a lot of other people from Fragrantica as well. But to me, this is a very good date night type scent for like a fall, springtime area. Very much winter time, but it might be a little too heavy in terms of summer. But yeah, this definitely seems to be a $23 more affordable version of the Bath and Body Works $35+ fragrance of bourbon. But yeah, no, I'm probably gonna have to keep that in stock. That is nice. Yeah, that's pretty great. I'm gonna say that if you feel like if you do like the spice and black vanilla fragrance, but you think that may be leaning more towards the unisex side of things, I'm gonna say this is the Cremo winter fragrance for you. Now, you do have to read the label of the box that you buy, because they do have a bourbon and oak, and they also have a bourbon vanilla fragrance. Make sure you're grabbing bourbon and oak. Whew, that's Nice. But yes, I think that bourbon and oak is easily going to be the best alternative for people who may think the spice and black vanilla may be leaning a little towards more of a unisex fragrance, because this is a very sweet, seductive winter, fall, early springtime type scent, especially for like a date night, maybe even something just very casual. I mean, it's a very universal scent for the fall, winter, springtime area of the year. And something that I'm liking about this is that even though I just sprayed it a few moments ago and the card earlier in this video, this is going to be a very aromatic based type scent, which I really enjoy, because if you've seen any of my other videos, I prefer aromatic scents versus ones that just punches people in the face and says, hey, I'm here and I'm wearing something. I love the fact this is aromatic and that it does have a sweetness without just turning over the masculinity into something unisex. This is a sweet masculine fragrance, and what makes it masculine is that sweetness comes from the bourbon. But you have to admit, aside from Mila Kunis, whiskey is typically reserved in terms of advertising for men. If we're just talking advertisements, I don't care, you do you. But the marketing in terms of whiskey is very much targeted towards men, so therefore when you put this on and people smell your fragrance, people will begin associating that with a masculine scent, resulting in a nice, sweet, seductive fragrance. And in terms of when I would wear this, as I said, dates. I don't know if I'd wear it to a family event. It might be fine for a family event, but I'm gonna say it might be too casual. Say if the family event is something like Thanksgiving or Christmas. Okay, maybe not Christmas. Christmas, that might be pretty good. But definitely maybe not Christmas dinner. This is gonna be throw it on, then sit on the floor and open your presents. But if you're gonna go eat at dinner, I would probably suggest another Cremo fragrance like the Spice and Black Vanilla. But there's nothing wrong with this fragrance to say that you can't wear this in almost anything that you want to. I'm gonna say you could probably dress this up if you truly feel like it, even though I do feel this will be a sports coat jeans type fragrance. I do feel as if this is gonna be a strong contender in order to be it's gonna be the ultimate $23 casual, just monster projector. And speaking of projection, I wore this last night while editing. Like I usually do, how I test my fragrances, I'll put it on while I'm editing for several hours. I'll then time it, make sure I see what the score will be. And oh my, okay, so again, I've only tried the Spice and Black Vanilla and I've tried the Bourbon and Oak, and both of them have been easily 8-hour performers, 9-hour performers, easily in that ball game. I put this on and it projected for about 6 hours, and it started to dwindle down for the next 3 before it became a skin scent at the 9th hour. So with that being said, this has monster projection and longevity. And I'm someone who tends to drink up fragrances pretty easy. I'm not an oily person, therefore my skin just absorbs fragrances pretty darn well. Therefore, to say that these fragrances, at least the 2 that I've tried, but I'm hoping that this is a common theme with all of them, all of these so far have been monsters in terms of projection, bang for your buck scents that I am very impressed with. I don't have a lot to say anything going against it. Even if I tried to really just pinpoint a con, the con I'd have to choose is, if I had to say a con, it'd be the same one that I said in the Spice and Black Vanilla one, and it's a really dumb con. But to say, give me one second. But to say if you had a whole collection of these fragrances and you didn't know the color scheme necessarily, you'd have to pick it up one by one and make sure you're grabbing the right one before you just spray it on because of the labeling. But I mean, if that's the only con that I have, I'm gonna say that I'm in pretty good shape. Because I'm gonna be honest, I have been overwhelmed. Me being impressed has been overwhelming, because typically I like to be harsh on fragrances. I like to look at, you know, the cons. Like, I want to try and find something that other people don't find in fragrances. If it's a monster beast, I want to try and find something I don't like. I'm having a very hard time finding a con in these fragrances. And as I said, there may be something synthetic about it, like the synthetic whiskey notes. But again, for a $23 fragrance that lasts that long, and even though it smells synthetic, it doesn't smell bad, I can easily get over it knowing that that is an incredibly good, affordable fragrance. So I'm just gonna go straight into the scoring. So with longevity, this thing's gonna get an 8. With projection, this thing's gonna get an 8. And the scent is going to get a solid 10 from me, because it is masculine while being sweet, and I'm honestly just a sucker for a sensual, sexy fragrance. Whether it's for a date, whatever it's for, for me, the smell is just killing it. I would go as far as to say that even though the projection and the longevity may not be as, you know, successful, I mean by an hour or two, as as the spice and black vanilla, but this fragrance, the actual smell itself, makes up for it all for me. So for me, this is gonna get an 8.6 out of 10 in my overall score. Therefore, this is gonna be probably, until I try the other fragrances, I have yet to try some of the other ones. Right now, this is in the lead of being my favorite Cremo fragrance. And something to be said about this is that yes, I'm probably gonna say that in terms of the best Cremo fragrance from what I've had so far, if you want to look at it as a more perfumer or a more nitpicky in terms of legitimately critiquing the fragrances. In terms of quality, I'm gonna say the spice and black vanilla one reigns pretty high in terms of what a quality fragrance is. Whereas even though this one may be not as full of the quality in terms of its synthetic notes, this is probably gonna lean towards my favorite as of right now for my personal taste. And as always, would I buy it again? 100% I would buy this again. I would probably even get the body wash and shampoo to roll. Get that, you know, layering effect. But I would 100% get this again. And in terms of age range, I would go as far as to say that any age can wear this. I could see a high schooler wear this. If you wanted to give your middle school kid, you know, their first fragrance, this would be a very easy, cheap alternative to something expensive. And that middle schooler would probably rock the hallways perfectly fine without offending a soul. And I also think that someone in their 20s, it would be perfect for someone in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s. And you know, I mentioned that Bath and Body Works Bourbon fragrance. My old boss, who was, you know, I think in his mid-late 60s, was wearing that one and it fit him perfectly fine. So I'm gonna say that Bourbon and Oak is a fragrance for all ages, making it probably one of the easier wears of any of these fragrances. From what I know so far, because where I said the spice and black vanilla will be for a more mature audience, mid-20s to later, this can be worn from the very first bottle of cologne someone could own to the very last one they have. And that's my review. Thank you so much for watching. Again, Cremo, if you're watching, thank you for sponsoring. And if you liked what you saw, please like and subscribe down below. If you liked what you saw, please like and subscribe down below. And as I said, I will be also venturing into a few more Cremo fragrances in the future. So please keep updated if you want to know what those are about. I'd love to see you there, and I'll see you next time.